hosts Frank Blair and Hugh Downs. And now, here's Frank Blair.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome again to Over Easy. The name Gloria Swanson brings to mind a wealth of accomplishments, from lifelong movie queen to cosmetics and fashion designer, syndicated columnist, health food purist, sculptor, and portrait painter. Not long ago, Hugh Downs visited with this remarkable woman, and we'll share their conversation in just a moment. We'll also welcome back financial columnist Jane Bryant Quinn, who will help sort out some important facts about pension plans. And then Chef Narcy David will show us how to make a delicious meal out of what's on hand in the kitchen. Gloria Swanson began her film career at the age of 13, and by age 21, she had become a silent screen star. Her mystique seemed to change with every film. After a long succession of glamour roles, she gave a brilliant performance as a fading movie queen in the 1950 Hollywood classic Sunset Boulevard. Yet Gloria Swanson has done anything but fade. Now 81, she recently published her long-awaited autobiography and is still pursuing her many interests with characteristic intensity, as Hugh Downs discovered when Over Easy visited with Miss Swanson in New York.
Now, with you, Miss Swanson, there's so much to talk about. I don't know.
Right now, we're
Really?
friends.
Can I call you
Yes,
Gloria?
of course.
Okay, all right, good.
I call you Hugh behind your back, and I'd hate to know what you call me. Most people call me behind my back.
But you call me Your Excellency in public.
Yes.
No, there are so many areas to explore with you that it's really hard to
My whole life
get
all
started.
over again. I've just written a book. I don't want to go through the
Well,
whole
but
thing again. I'll kill myself.
That is what's in it. People are interested in what you've written in that book, and I've got to ask you first off maybe why you could have written an autobiography at any point as in the early part of your acting career. It would have been interesting to people. When you made Sunset Boulevard, you could have done it.
Yes.
Why did?
As a matter
why
of
did
fact,
you,
I started it around that time.
Did you really?
Oh, and I couldn't stand it.
Well, now why did you choose this moment to?
Well, because this moment. Well, because
No, I mean,
I'm
to
older
finish it.
now, 81, you know, and I was afraid that somebody else might write it, and I know where they'd get their information. They'd go to the morgue, and you better explain that. You've
The
certainly been in
newspaper files, yeah,
yes.
right.
And it would come out, and my children would scream and yell, and it wouldn't be the truth, and I thought I might as well do it before somebody who's never been within 100 miles of me writes it.
That makes sense.
Well,
So you got the record
look
straight.
what they did to Harlow and people like that, and Monroe. I'm sure those people were never within, well, even in my lifetime, things I've read about myself are rather startling.
I do want to ask you, of all those careers, as an actress, you've been a producer, you've designed, as an artist, design and sculpture.
I wonder if you know it all.
Business. Oh, I couldn't even list it all if I did know.
I had a
it all.
patent office once, too.
A patent office?
Yes,
Did you really?
sure I did.
I did want to find out, of these activities, which is the most rewarding? Well, not of all of them throughout your careers, but of what you're doing now, what is the most rewarding to you? What's most interesting and most
Well, when
absorbing?
you say now, I have to go back a couple of years because one thing leads to another. And I wake up in the morning and I say, all right, God, now what have you got for me today? What surprise? Because my life is a total surprise. Totally. I never expected to be a movie actress. I wanted to be an opera singer. So anyway, you know what happened. I didn't get to be one.
You don't put a label on yourself. You don't allow labels to
No,
go
and you
in,
know,
because
I
do
only
things.
worked in Hollywood, so I'm not a Hollywoodite. The moment I was finished, I was on that train. Well, anyway, I want to talk about today. That's the past. So, from that, I was invited by the UN to do a cachet. Oh, you have them?
Yeah, I have it here, and I wanted, if you could just set it up there,
All
we
right.
can get a close
I'll
shot of
put
it.
it there.
This is the cachet. This is a really beautiful design. And explain what that is, Gloria.
Well, it is the earth. And I think of the earth as the womb. And from this planet Earth comes every life you can think of. And so I put a little embryo, you can see it there,
Yes, you see
inside,
it.
so it would look like the womb. of the planetary system, you see, one of them at any rate.
Is that a day of issue or something? Because it's got the
Yes, it is a stamp
on
of
Right.
Geneva on it. Some of them have
That's
Geneva and some have New York and various countries.
Now, is this related to your being chairman of the...
Well, from that, you see how everything, all of a sudden I got an invitation to be the honorary chairman for the Women's Council of America. And that is very interesting because here it is, a quiet little thing that started in 1848. Imagine.
Oh, does it go back that far?
1848, and then it became really more or less important in 1888. And now there are 17 million women in the United States who belong to this, and this particular one is a sort of an umbrella over all of them. And they are women who have achieved and have careers. A lot of them, I imagine, have been the power behind the throne. You know, man doesn't like to admit this sometimes, but sometimes it's his wife back there
Oh, yeah.
pushing.
Do you consider yourself a liberated woman? In
Oh,
the
yes.
way the term?
But feminine, please. I think we must keep that image of the woman. Next time I come back, I'm going to be a weakling, and I'm going to say, you know, please, I'm going to be a clinging vine. Can you imagine me as a clinging vine?
No. But I can imagine you as what you are, which is a fair and intelligent person, and I want to talk for a minute about your application of your intelligence to the whole field of health. When you first started with ideas that I've read now that you were saying
Echoes
some
now.
years ago that are now really
You want to
being
know how many
recognized.
years ago?
How long ago did you first get interested in health through nutrition?
I fortunately met a Dr. Beeler in the late 20s. And I was about 20. Well, I'm always a year older than the year, after March. So I must have been 29. I think it was 1928 I met him. Because I was producing pictures, and I therefore assumed that I had ulcers. Didn't turn out to be that at all. So he made me realize how magnificent the body is. It is the most awesome creation in the whole solar system, as far as we know, until they start landing here,
Yeah.
those other people.
How did you stumble onto it, Gloria, that the people... There must be individuals who knew that by changing their eating habits they were feeling better or something. But you early on discovered things that are now just coming into fashion regarding how to eat.
I know, and I've been yakking for years. Well, it started also for me to be very vocal about it when in 1944 insecticide came in.
Yeah.
Now, but you see, man can adjust to anything, one at a time, but not when you get 3,500 of them at you all at once.
Yeah.
With the radiation and the this and the that and all the things, and even the stuff they use in cleaning your clothes and the stuff they spray in restaurants and for this thing and that thing, and it gets on the food and the wax on the food and the whole thing. It's really become a horror story.
There are some real dangers, but I want to know how you feel about our chances of getting it turned around. Are you basically optimistic, or do you think we may have
Well, I'm an
sawed
optimist
off
at
the
heart, because
You are.
I get knocked down, then I get up and wipe myself off and put my fists up and start fighting again.
Do you think the
but
human race...
There have been times when I wanted to just sit in the middle of my bedroom and cry my eyes out. Really, it's...
Because it seems kind of despairing.
It
at times.
does, but
Right.
then you'll read something and you'll hear something that says, oh, that's better.
You ought to feel vindicated, though.
Oh, I
because a lot
am
of what you've been
vindicated.
preaching a long time
Yes.
is coming to the
That's
fore.
right. And I was, I used to be a fanatic on the subject.
Do you think the medical profession is beginning to move away from the idea of treating illness and dealing with health, the preservation of health? In other words, moving away from remedial and toward preventive.
I think so. And a book that I think everybody should read, and I have it right where I can reach it, is Norman Cousins' book.
Yeah, isn't that a great book?
Well, that tells it all. I think
really
people
good.
should read this. It's terribly, terribly important.
Sure.
Well, they
Well-
could have my book next to it if they want to.
Well, now, the name of your book now, the autobiography.
Yes, I wanted to call it a crazy thing, Where Do I Go From Here? But it was too long a title, so I said, you figure it out. So the publisher says Swanson on Swanson.
So it is Swanson on Swanson.
Yes.
I look forward to seeing that. What about from here? Where, since you said that was a title, you want to say, where do you go from here? What will, in the years ahead, what will absorb your interest? Where will your priorities be?
I think the thing that's been with me for a long time that I haven't quite succeeded at, you see, because I went up to Albany, as I told you, And I wanted to do something about changing the education in these three grades, including kindergarten, so that we could get children who knew how important they were. They must love themselves as an instrument of creation, and they can create. When people say to me, "Oh, you did that painting," or "You did that sculpture," oh, I wish I could. My first question is, well, have you ever tried? No, I haven't. Well, I say, how do you know you can walk upstairs unless you try? Try. And if you don't succeed the first time, try again. And then, if you want to give it up, all right, but have some goal, a carrot out there someplace that you're trying to get at. And it's so exciting. It really is. Life is so wonderful, and this planet is so beautiful, and when I could cry when I think of what man has done to it. Now, man, I mean, by the word man, I mean as it meant both female and male.
Every now and then you will accept a role. Is there anything in the offing now that we might see you in a motion picture again?
There's several things, but they're not, we mustn't deplete them by talking about them until, you know. I feel that's very important too, because of focus on something. It's like a light. If you take it away, it dissolves, you know, and you have to keep your attention on it. I think the mind has a tremendous amount of... I would like to say to people who think they ought to retire, that's the beginning of death. They mustn't do it.
Just quit doing things.
Yes, yes. I feel so sorry because these men are needed in the businesses. I love young people and they should have a start, but I don't think they can replace experience. Do you?
I don't, and I think forcing somebody out who has something to offer is one of the worst things that we do.
You can
nowadays.
do. You can say, go shoot yourself.
Yeah, that's
well,
true.
I think now, don't you think business knows this now? I think
it's finding out.
Yes.
I really do. Also, I like the idea of people being able to move around a little bit. It's another career. A few people, and you're one of them, can carry on more than one activity at a time.
My mother used to call me a 5-ring circus. I said 3-ring circus. She said, no, 5-ring
You're a
circus.
5-ring.
So, and anybody, I must say, anybody around me, it gets exhausted because I really, and I can't understand why they should be exhausted or tired.
We challenge you all to keep up with her, and we thank you for being here, Gloria Swanson. It was a real pleasure talking with you.
Well, thank you very much. I
Some...
can't tell you how nice it's been to be with you and be able to talk about something besides a book.
We will hope you'll come back.
Thank you very much. I
Thank
hope
you.
to.
Gloria Swanson.
Gloria Swanson, her vitality and zest for life have made her one of the most remarkable personalities of our time.